If you're tired of not making progress and you're ready to be the artist you know you're meant to be, you're in the right place. You're listening to the Singer's Path podcast. The Path, or Performing Artists Training Hub, will cover everything, including singing tips that actually work, advice from top industry professionals, and life-changing mindset shifts. Out with the starving artist and in with the thriving artist. I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, professional singer, actor, educator, and entrepreneur. I'm not afraid to speak the truth and stop the gatekeeping of quality information so you can actually become the artist you dream of being. So let's get on the path, shall we? Even though we're all on our own journeys, it always helps to have a guide. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Singer's Path podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, Cody. Jennifer Cody, I guess is her more official stage name, but we all call her Jen. Jen is such a role model to me, and she's a dear friend. We worked together for a while doing the developmental stages of a show called The Griswolds Broadway Vacation. I've also worked with her husband, Hunter Foster, before. So it was just such a privilege and a pleasure to invite her onto the show today. Jen, in my eyes, I keep saying this in the interview and she kind of hates it, but I believe she's kind of a Broadway legend. She's been in 9 Broadway shows, including Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats, Beauty and the Beast, Seussical, The Pajama Game, Urinetown, Shrek, and we even talked about Andrew Lippo's Wild Party, which is a personal favorite musical of mine. So in this conversation, we're going to talk really what it's like to be like a longtime working actor. We talk about one of her coolest experiences, which was being cast as Charlotte in The Princess and the Frog, the Disney movie, and her experience with that and auditioning to be in a major Disney motion picture. So it's just a really interesting conversation. And by the end, we wrap up with, people's different life journeys and their paths, and what's for you will not pass you by, which is kind of that you know come again age old saying, but it's really true, and she's a testament to that. So it's a really, really lovely conversation. I'm so excited to dive into it with you. So let's get started. This is the interview with Jennifer Cody. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us at the
Hey, Sarah.
podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to see you, and we've worked together for kind of a while at this point, just sporadically. So to actually just sit down and like pick your brain and have a good conversation is, I think, going to be really valuable to listeners. So as we're kind of diving into this, Jen, I kind of to get everybody, on board with, how actually epic you are in
Oh,
the Broadway community. You're like, girl, shut the fuck up. But
girl.
like, actually, guys, if you have never heard of Jen Cody, then you're not a Broadway stan. This is Jen hates this. She's like, I didn't come on here for you to compliment me this much.
No, let's just talk dirt.
Let's just talk shit about Broadway. That's what we're gonna fucking do. No, but guys, I am just so thrilled to have Jen here today. She literally is, I believe, a Broadway legend. She is so professional. She is the funniest human I've ever fucking met, and I'm really honest about that. And I admire her so greatly. I admire you so greatly for your career and how you show up in your career and your versatility. And I think your story is like fascinating. I think the way that you've changed and morphed through the industry and the different roles you've taken on, the journey you've had is just like top A, like I said, Broadway fucking legend. So here we are. You're like, please stop saying that. But
Yeah. People are like, I've never heard of her. I'm going to Google her.
But you fucking have, because like, I don't know, like you think you haven't, but you fucking have. Like Jen is, I mean, oh my God. So let's start off. I want to hear a little bit of like your backstory. First of all, obviously you're a professional actor and artist now, but like, what was like that early life, like getting into being a professional artist? Like, what did you do earlier in life?
Well, I didn't know this was a job, to be honest with you. I think I grew up in a very like blue collar My mom was a waitress. My dad was a bus driver kind of family. We didn't know about theater at all. I think I watched Wizard of Oz and Sound of Music on TV, and my mom played Barbara Streisand albums, and I think that was very theatrical to me. I understood about storytelling, but I didn't know you could do it as a job. And then when I was in high school, my theater, uh, you know, chorus group went to New York City one year, and I saw we went to see four shows. I don't remember exactly. I remember it was like Les Mis, 42nd Street. I don't know what the third show was, but the fourth show was Noises Off.
Mm.
And it was the original cast. And I had never been in a space where the entire audience was just belly laughing and tears. And I had never experienced that before. And I was just riveted. And that to me is like the moment where I was like, I'm not really sure if you can get paid to do this, but I think this is what I want to do. And it's kind of at that moment that like realizing what a bit was and what like was it formed what I did with my life, I think, because I never knew I wanted to be a comedian per se, but I was like, 4'10", and I think it just kind of my life went that way, being so tiny, being loud and trying to get attention. So that was like my first memory of being like, oh, I think if you can get paid to make people laugh, I think that's really what I want to do.
You know what? What's so funny, Jen? This is what I mean. Broadway epic. You know what my show was that I did that on?
But
Like I had that moment. It was Shrek.
really, that's
I
no.
was,
Well, like as long as you always like, I always will remember that, and if you'll
yeah,
remember Shrek, that's like an honor.
yeah. And listen, who were you in Shrek when you were? Because you were in the ensemble, but you played a couple of different roles in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the shoemaker's elf. I sang the little thing to Shrek at the top of the show, and
Okay.
then I was one of the three blind mice.
Yes.
Um, I was part of the dragon, but that like changed. That was one of those shows that I was a part of from the workshop through out of town
Mhm.
through Broadway, and it changed as it went.
Yeah.
So the dragon was many different things, but yeah, and that was an exciting thing because in the workshop we kind of got to create who we were, and
Mm.
I became the shoemaker's elf and got to like in my mind I was like, okay, this is what's going to make this. We did so many exercises as our new characters, and I remember like carrying this bag, and I decided that I had a nasal problem, so I had an inhaler, and then I decided I was a Scientologist for some reason,
Wait,
and
that's actually iconic because they wrote that into the
they
song.
wrote it into the score, just because those kind of things, that was like the excitement of creating something new, because you never knew what exactly was going to stay in the score and stay in the script.
So, for all the musical theater fans that know the score of Shrek and Freak Flag, it's in Freak Flag, right? Where the
uh
Scientologist quote. I
I
feel
think
like
it's at
it's in
the
there.
end of the show. Maybe it's the
Okay, maybe not.
yeah. I know what it was in my head, but there were so many different versions of all those songs. I don't
Okay,
really
so you're like,
remember.
I don't know anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because Jen and I have both been in multiple reiterations of a new show that may or may we don't know may or may not go to Broadway at some point or not, we don't know, but of the Griswolds show, which is kind of the same, like kind of following it along each step of the process. I love that you guys did that exercise though to discover your characters. That's so valuable. And I think sometimes like unfortunately not every creative process is treated equal. It does seem like that was obviously very beneficial for the creators to listen to the talent as far as like your creative instinct. And it's just really cool to hear that they like took, like you're saying, from the creative process, like your instinct, and then they kind of used it. Although I do feel like in Broadway Vacation too, like Quackers and Madame Cherie will never be this. I mean, the way that Jen Cody
Well,
puts a stamp,
Quackers, rest in peace.
Quackers.
R.I.P. Quackers.
I mean, you never know. He might come back. Listen, Quackers, when we did it at Fifth Avenue, Quacker, how would you describe Quackers to the audience? They've never seen it. How would you
Um,
describe Quackers?
well, imagine a very tiny person in a onesie, first of all,
First of
because
all.
that, like when I see pictures of myself with the low crotch, it really looks like my legs were only about 6 inches long. Um, and then Quackers was, I kind of modeled Quackers after Joe Pesci. So that's who I thought he was the whole time. He's a duck who like probably runs a mafia ring.
That is exactly he's got something. You have this accent with Quackers.
Yeah.
By the way, Quackers was at this point. I mean, it was he had multiple reiterations, but I believe he's working for another character that's trying to get between Clark and Ellen. If you guys know the Griswolds, right? There's some plot that'll probably change at some point of Clark and Ellen happening. So Quackers was like this undercover mob boss. He'd like show up at
So
the
weird.
fucking
And he's in a
restaurants,
duck costume for no explanation for the entire show.
which I kind of fucking love.
It felt very Griswold, you know?
I was like, and the way, so I had seen multiple, I had been with that production since they wrote it back in like 2018, 2019. I had sat at the original, like basically you're mentioning other times where you sit and gather and read scripts and that kind of thing. I had been to one of the original ones where I had read for Audrey. I was much younger back then. Now I would not pass as Audrey. But yeah, I remember it was a different role, and there were there's of course every reiteration, like you're saying with Shrek, it's like really cool to see how things develop and change and where they end up going. And for listeners who've never been part of a developing production, that's literally what it is. It takes sometimes years and years and years to take an original concept, and then they work and comb through different productions, different reiterations. They rewrite it, they cut things.
And you know what's interesting about Shrek when you were saying how
Yeah.
we were such a part of creating it. The song there used to be a song in Act One that I think eventually was just cut altogether. But we had so many different versions of this one song. I remember one was called Rock Bottom, and it was all the characters singing, and they couldn't figure out what the song was about. And so we were out of town, and they asked each of us. I think there was like 12 of us that were specific characters. They said, "We want you on your day off to go off and come up with a talent, and
Oh,
then come back to rehearsal on Tuesday, and we're going to do a talent show. And your character has to perform in the talent show." And we did this version on stage, I think maybe 3 nights, and then it was cut. But if anyone has video of the talent show, it was very a chorus line. We all had our headshots, and then we all did a talent. And I can't remember all of them. I remember Jen Samard and Danette Holden were the two witches, and they did curling. They had they threw a puck, and then they both used their brushes, their witch brooms to curl. And then I remember I did Chariots of Fire with a kazoo and a ribbon. I'm like, everyone had come up with these really amazing talents that were hilarious. And the number ended up getting cut. But someone has to have, a version of what happened out of town, because it was something.
that is insane. And you're out of town for that was also an out of town, guys. If you don't know what that is, it's like a beta test for a show. Yours was at Fifth Avenue too. I remember you
It
telling me that when we
was.
were in yeah. And it was also like, from what I remember you saying, it was a pretty strenuous process with all of the prosthetics and the makeup and like the getting in and
Yeah.
out was a lot. Yeah.
All of my out of towns have not been dreamlike. I will say that.
Well, you're working really hard. I mean, the
Yeah.
company is in a state of like, I mean, how would you describe it? It's like the state of like pressurized flux. It's like,
Yeah, you have, when I think anytime you do commercial theater, right, you have the artistic people that want it to be fulfilling and they want the audiences to love the show. But then you have the financial people who are also there watching every minute little thing, and they want it to be a financial success. And they're both looking to an audience that it doesn't know that they're that important, right? They don't know, like, oh my God, if you don't laugh at this tonight, this joke is gone tomorrow. Like, it's that stressful. And as a performer, I think you feel like everything you do is on the line and under a microscope every day, because you don't know if you just have a night where it doesn't get a response, it might be gone the next day. So I find it very, very stressful to do out of towns.
Yeah. And like, that's, I mean, again, part of the purpose of this podcast is to kind of pull back the curtain, like kind of literally. Oh my God, you have a spindrift. I almost got one. Is it grapefruit or is it orange? Of
Grapefruit,
course.
always grapefruit all the time. I have a problem.
No, I do too. I just took my garbage out. I have ADD so hard right now. We just took a hard right turn, but I have a spindrift addiction as well because the
Oh,
grocery store, Jen, I have to
it's
do the fun now, has every flavor of spindrift, Jen.
have you
Under the
tried the
sun.
Cosmopolitan, which is brand new? I just tried it for the first time.
Oh, I have the mojito, the no
Yeah,
mojito,
try Cosmo. It's delicious.
the cranberry. Oh my
It's
God.
cranberry, orange, and something, but it's not sweet and it's really good.
Guys, this is not sponsored by
Sorry.
Spindrift, but it fucking should be. Anyway, not sponsored by Spindrift, but like maybe. Anyway, so yeah, no, I realized that yeah, doing it out of town, guys. First of all, this I was just saying that the podcast is about literally or not so literally drawing back the curtain so that people actually like know what it's actually like. Because I think, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I know like we all can do one role at a time as far as like being transparent and like doing our part and everything. But I think, you know, when the general public has a better idea of the realities of like becoming a professional artist, I think it can I think there's sometimes a danger in glamorizing the process a little bit, but also I don't know, like I think it's a service to people who are considering entering this field, like the realities of it. I think sometimes it's unethical for certain educators, and like I'm mostly an educator, right? But not to talk about some of the stuff that's not so glamorous. Like the
Yeah,
fact
and I
is
think
so hard,
putting
you
it
know?
putting it all in perspective, because I remember when I first was in the business and I heard, like, if I worked with someone and they're like, "Oh, they got fired from a show," and you're like, "Oh my God," it was like such taboo. And then you go out of town with a show and you realize, "Oh, well, those two people got fired because their parts were written out and there's just no
Yeah.
place for them, or they've decided that that's not really a principal character and we're just going to absorb it and someone from the ensemble is going to pick it up, so we don't need to hire that person." Like, there's so many things that, like, I always thought of as taboo, and then when you actually put it in play and you realize, you know what, it's a business. It's just a business ultimately. And yes, you can love what you do, but you're only successful if you can kind of keep remembering, oh, it's not personal, it's a
Yeah.
business, especially when you work in commercial theater. I think it's
Yeah.
just it's so hard to get to step back and go, oh, this really, like, that's what, I don't know if I'm segueing in a good way, but you know, that's what has helped me a lot in auditioning, is that
Mm,
when you're on the other side of the table and people come into audition and they are great, amazing people, um, and they don't get the job, 99.9% of the time has nothing to do with what they did in that room.
mhm.
It's when they came in, it's at that point what exactly we were looking for. If they were too tall because we've already cast this person, or we know that they also have to play another role, so we can't, like, there are so many moving parts and pieces
Mhm.
that when you realize that and then you go into audition for a room, you're like, I really just have to show up and do and be prepared and do my best, because 99% of the time it's really not about me, you
Yeah.
know? And it does take the pressure off, and it does, I find, make it those hard things, those auditions, it takes a lot of pressure when you walk in the room and realize they want me to be the person. It only
They
helps
do.
them. And I can just do my best. And I can't change how tall I am or my hair color or my vocal quality. It's what it is. And it's either going to be great or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I kind of want to base off of that because again, you have done so many different kinds of theater, different mediums of art throughout your like amazing career. So like what I guess I kind of want to go through lessons like as you started doing more shows because I think the commercial theater differentiation between like I look at commercial theater as almost like kind of corporate in a way. It's like
Yeah,
corporate theater.
money,
It's money. It's
money
money
driven.
based, money driven versus like even a regional house sometimes has a different version of that, but like off Broadway, like artsy kind of stuff, like maybe like the Wild Party. I know what was the story with the Wild Party? Because I know anytime we've kind of talked about it, it was from what I understand, it was like, oh, that show, we just wanted more time with the show. But I feel like didn't something happen with 9/11? Like I feel like did something
Oh no, that was much earlier. The
okay.
Wild Party was like 1999.
Okay.
And it there were two versions. Earlier, I think a couple years earlier, the Wild Party poems had gone into public domain, and
Mm,
both Michael John LaCusha and Andrew Lippa picked up this book of poems and was like, I'm going to write a musical. Timing is everything because they both wrote them at the exact same time. And
it's like Gatsby, like is how that's happening too.
yeah, very similar. Although I feel like there was another Gatsby at some point. I don't, yeah. And like the other one's waiting in the wings, right? Because
Yeah.
we found to open at the same time was not a good idea. Um,
Oh.
so there was what we called the young version, which was the Andrew Lippa one, and it was like, Adina Menzel and Tate Diggs and Brian Darcy James and Julia Murney. And then there was the older one, which was Eartha Kitt and Toni Collette and Mark Kudish and Mandy Patinkin. And so they both were rehearsing at the same time. And one was through the public, which was the Michael John LaCusha one. And the other one was through MTC, Manhattan Theater Club. And, hindsight is 2020. And that is true because I think our producers thought we'll open first
Mm.
because we'll get the story out first, and then they'll have to, you know,
Mhm.
they'll have to like already have the story out and lose the the first one out of the gate. The problem was they had all these stars, and at that time, Adina and Tay had done Rent, but I mean they were. It was definitely not
Yeah.
Eartha Kitt and Toni
Eartha
Collette,
Kitt.
and Mandy Patinkin. So we opened for a limited run. We were only going to be 4 weeks, I think, off
Mhm.
Broadway. And then the thought was we would then move to Broadway. Um, and then they opened after that already on Broadway. And so we ended up not moving. And it's funny, I was the dance captain for the production. And I remember sitting in the audience with the director and the choreographer, and they were reworking the opening number for the 100th time. And I remember I heard the choreographer say, we just need another day on it. And the director said, we'll fix it when we move to Broadway.
Oh,
And I always remember that because we opened and the opening number got killed. And I thought, oh, if we had had a better opening number, maybe would have moved. But, it wasn't meant to be.
oh man. Well, yeah, that's even being part again, like wherever the other show that we're working on goes, it's interesting to see how it's really a no guarantee for it kind of doesn't even matter sometimes how good the show is. Like it's such a
Mm-mm.
crapshoot too. It's a and from what I've understood talking to people that I know part of this production, it's like a real estate game too, because it has to do, with getting a theater, with timing, with there are so many things out of the control of even the people artistically running the show, right? It's a
Oh,
giant
absolutely.
company. It's kind of interesting, and I think for listeners, I think a lot of like the public goes like, oh, to be on Broadway is like the ultimate kind of theater. But I think it's so interesting, like once you're in the world, like I know some of the best, like actually best artistically moving productions I've ever watched don't even sometimes make it to Broadway. Sometimes they're off Broadway. Or they're
Yeah. I
off.
mean, or in regional theater, like
Yeah.
nonprofit, it doesn't have the need to
Hmm.
create money, right? Like nonprofits they can create art. And I think, look, I'm not putting down, I love performing on Broadway. I love walking to the theater. I love putting my makeup on. I love going out after the show in my show makeup. Like there's some amazing things. I love being part of the legacy robe. Like all of those things that only you get to do when you're on Broadway is
Hmm.
amazing. But it is a really hard job. And I think that's what people don't realize is that a lot of people have in the lore, well, I get to do this and it's fun. And yeah, you're doing it 8 times a week, plus you're rehearsing. Everyone's like, oh, you only work, 6 hours a day on. No, you actually, some of the parts you do are so demanding vocally or physically, you actually don't do anything during the day because you can't and sustain 8 shows a week. And I think that's the hard part. Like, you know, uh, Sutton Foster is my sister-in-law, and when she was doing Millie, she had no life. She had no life. She basically sat in a room with steam and a humidifier and didn't go out, didn't talk. Like so, it's amazing to be able to be on Broadway, but it also you're an athlete, and you have to know that some of these shows, especially if you think about shows that run year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, your body, it's hard to maintain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and especially with like dancer roles, like I kind of want to talk about your Broadway debut. And was it Cats? Am I correct
Mm-hmm.
in that?
Yeah.
Doing something that strenuous, like the dancers, right? You started as like a dancer, and like
Yeah.
segued out and transitioned in such a
Well, when you're 4'10", it's like, well, you better find something else to do as a 4'10" dancer.
I mean, but listen, I mean, how many shows were you just like thrown around the stage? Like
All
they
of them.
just tossed you in the air. They're like,
Yeah.
do a little cannon flying through the air. But like,
Yes.
but with dancers, there's a huge, I mean, and with anyone too, but I feel with dancing, there is a depreciation on your body. Like, and I think less so maybe compared to what we stereotypically have seen with like ballet companies, possibly. I feel like ballerinas tend to retire maybe a little bit earlier than
Oh,
other
yeah.
dancers. But well, I think comparatively, the dancing may be less strenuous depending on the show. But I mean, it just depends. I don't know. I can't really
Yeah.
speak to
Well, I also think there is, in the old days, like in the even the 70s and 80s, like we're going back far, but these ensembles were built with 20 dancers, 20 singers, right? Like those were the ensembles of the 42nd Streets and the Crazy for Yous. Like, those were people that danced, people that sang.
Mm.
And then as the ensembles started to get smaller, these people had to then do everything. So now you have most of the shows ensembles of say 10, and those 10 people dance everything, sing everything, understudy, dance captain. Like there's
play instruments sometimes.
play instruments, right?
Yeah.
Those people have become so specialized in what they do that you're not like it's not like I'm just going to come in and do my tap dance and not have to worry about breath control and not have to like it's now our bodies are becoming machines to be able to do the work that we didn't used to have to do, in my opinion. Totally my
Yeah.
opinion. But Cats was like really, really hard. And I was young. I was 21 years old. And, as I'd done it for a year, I would just get ready. I'd hear the overture and tears would start coming down my face because I'm like, oh, I'm going to be in so much pain in a couple hours. And I was a kid, but I had torn my adductors and my shoulders at that point, and you know, yeah,
Oh my gosh. Wait, and did you start as Rumpelteazer? Was that
yeah,
who you were in?
but I was Rumple Teaser.
Do you have footage of you doing Rumpelteazer? Because like I would give my left tit to watch you do Rumpelteazer.
I think I do. I think I had done some like press where they had taken B-roll, and like I think I still have. I think it might be on DVD or VHS, but I think I have it.
Love. And wait, and also, did you and Hunter meet during Cats? Was that where you met, or did you meet during Greed?
No Cats. Yeah,
It was
he joined the company. I was on the tour, and Hunter joined the company for a very short time, uh, probably I think like 2 months, because he had gotten Cats and Grease on the same week. So he took Cats.
Okay.
And in hindsight, like he probably should have just said no to cats and did Grease, but he did cats for a couple months, and yeah, that's where we met. And then he went into Grease. I went back and did cats on Broadway, and then I ended up auditioning and getting in Grease. So then we did Grease together for 3 years.
And so you were Cha-Cha in Greece?
Hmm.
Who did he play? Was it?
Hunter was Roger.
Okay.
Roger the Mooner.
Oh, Jesus. Of
Yeah, in
course.
fact, my parents came to meet him in New York, and there was a billboard up in Times Square of all the characters from Greece, and Hunter's was of him dropping his pants and his butt. So his butt was up in Times Square for a really long time, and I was like, "That's my boyfriend." Yeah.
And your parents are Portuguese, is that correct?
My mom, yeah, my family is Portuguese, yeah.
And that's a pretty strong culture, like character wise, like it's a whole, like anytime you've described like holidays and like, so, there's a lot of energy. So how did that go down? Being like, my boyfriend's butt cheeks are in Times Square.
Well, it's funny because my family is very loud and opinionated, and Hunter comes from a very Southern family. So there was some getting used to each other, I think. But we have now been together 32 years. So I know, right? So yeah, we're past that now. No, we're just the same person.
That's so brilliant. Yeah. Did you guys do something special for your 30th? Did you guys go to Europe or something? Did I remember?
We go every 5 years. So we've done 10, uh, 10, 15, 20. We did our 25th year. And this will be, we're married 28 together, 32. So we'll do 30 again too. Yeah, we always go away and like rent a place, and all of our friends come and we celebrate. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I just had my first wedding.
I know, you're a newbie.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love being married. I remember like you guys meeting Kyle, and I think there was a moment oh my God, I was just having a pretty bad day after tech. I think I was just feeling like the body dysmorphia of it all, and like it's just being hard on myself like after uh some rehearsal or something, and came home. I must have been in my luteal phase or something. I think I was hormonal, but I left the theater and just felt kind of down. And like Kyle is an engineer. He's not a theater person, which kind of is great. I mean, I kind of was looking for that. Just because I had dated so many people within the industry and was like, this is not for me. I need that separation. It's healthy for me. But I remember him coming to the stage door, and I was just, I think I like you said, it was an out of town. We're all feeling the stress, it's hard being away. He was visiting, and he had, I think, a couple beers with his dad. Like his dad was visiting. So he was like enjoying himself, right? So Kyle's feeling loose. And he was like, I remember him being like, I was crying about how I was feeling in one of my costumes or something like that. And he was like, you are literally one of the most beautiful women, the bodies I've ever seen. And I literally, I just remember, and I was just like, stop talking. Like I was like, not receptive to his like tipsy compliments. I was like, just let me be in my poopy diaper. My God. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's been a really beautiful experience so far, but we've got many years to go. And
It's a roller coaster. You're gonna have some good times. You're gonna have some bad times.
yeah.
But that's what it is.
Hey, listen, that's what we signed up for, right?
Yeah.
And you and Hunter, I mean, because you guys both work so much in different areas, like you guys probably have to do long distance quite a lot and like kind of meet each other. You've kind of figured out this unconventional, in a sense, life. Like, how do you guys typically do that? Like, do you have like amount of weeks that you spend apart?
Yes, we have a rule. We have a 3-week rule. And in 3 weeks, we have to somehow see each other, whether it's one person flies to where the person is, or sometimes we've met in the middle. Because we found that after 3 weeks, there's like a, huh, did you? did you always smell like that? Or did you like, is that what you always look like? Like there is a moment, and ours is 3 weeks. Everyone probably has their own, but ours is just a 3 week of like, we need to touch base every 3 weeks. Now, mind you, also, it's easier now because back in our day, we didn't have FaceTime, we didn't have
Yeah.
that. Um, so that actually makes communicating a lot better because we were not good phone people, and
Yeah.
that's all we had. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's sometimes like, yeah, I feel we're so far, ours has been 2 weeks. So that's, but that's the thing is like right now I'm in New York. Like we have an apartment here. It's just a matter of like, I'm not necessarily like in a production. I'm just like working on other things, right? So it's like we're a little bit more flexible and he has a lot of flexibility with his company. So it's like if we can, like 2 weeks is our thing. I'm sure there'll probably be periods of time when it's like,
well,
oh
that's the
well,
good about
yeah.
having a muggle because Hunter and I, he's like, well, I got to go direct this project. I'm like, okay, well, I have to take this job because I need my health insurance. So what are we gonna do? Like, so we spend so much time on the road. Um,
Yeah.
when we got together, we were both just working Broadway all the time, and it was a lot easier. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So because you and Hunter, again, kind of back to the earlier career, like what were like in order, like where was like your first like hiccup of a transition of like, okay, we're doing Broadway, 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 Broadway. We're together, we're in New York. And then like you started to kind of transition or notice that maybe it needed to look a little bit of a different way. Where was that for you?
I think for me, I started I had the luck of getting Princess and the Frog, and for me that it was like a bit of a, oh, I might want to express myself in a different way, and it gave me the courage, confidence to move to LA. And
Mhm.
while I hated LA, um, I got to do TV stuff out there, and it was just, oh, I, I don't have to do a show 8 times a week in order to be fulfilled. And I think that for me was where I started being like, oh, I might want to just do this play for 6 weeks out in Maine and then come back home. And then maybe do this new play that I would never have the chance to do in New York because in New York it's going to go to Rachel Dratch. I can go do that and feel fulfilled and come home. So I think that was it for me. For Hunter, I think he did, I'm not going to give specific names, but he did a play, kind of 2 plays in a row with directors that he thought were uh, unkind people. And so he decided that he thought he could do that. He's like, I could be a director and be kind. And
Yeah.
I think and he's so successful at it, at just
Yeah.
creating a room that is uh, hopefully very creative for the people, um, and make sure everyone treats each other well. And I think that
Mhm.
that has made him such a successful director that I can't see him going back to anything other than that because he does do that so well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the first time I met you guys was because I was working with, he had hired me to do Josh Cohen
Oh,
at
right.
Jiva. That was so long. I was such a baby. Oh my God. But that was one of those like niche
That's my hometown.
hometown Rochester. That's
Woo!
right. Woohoo. Not Syracuse. We were
Nope.
just talking about how we don't like Syracuse because it's cold. But Rochester's also cold, but it's pretty though. Yeah, my husband's from Albany actually. So he's in the other triangle there.
Yes.
But yeah, so yeah, I had met you guys. That was actually people on the podcast know my journey with this, but I had been actually a pretty fucking good auditioner. And like also my type, I think was also like really it was sought after as soon as I graduated college. You know what I mean? Like I was very
Hmm.
much in that like the Sam Mendes cabaret was happening. I immediately graduated from CCM and like went on tour. And then that was Josh Cohen was my first audition back. And I booked Josh Cohen. So I had like been continuously like booking. And then I can't even explain it, Jen. During Josh Cohen, I first of all, don't do this. We talked about like hexing ourselves. Fuck. I was like, man, you remember we had that New Year's Eve party and was it my apartment or was it your apartment? It was one of the apartments. And I was like, my New Year's resolution is to learn. No, it's not, bitch. Don't fucking say that. Oh my fucking God. Talk about a hex, bitch. I fucking was rattled for some reason with like performance anxiety during Josh Cohen. And it wasn't, I mean, it's stressful to do an actor musician show. Like, let's be honest. Like you're doing, like you're saying, like all of these instruments. I had been, we were playing all these different parts. I had a great time. I agree with you. I think Hunter creates a really great environment. I also had this drive, like I really wanted to get it right. And when you're playing like fucking 10 characters, there's always like one where you're like,
Yeah, I think that's what you just said. Like, I think at some point you realize you're just not going to get it right all the time. And it's
yeah.
okay because sometimes not getting it right actually makes it more interesting.
Yeah, I just remember there was this one moment. I can't remember. It was like his sister or something. And also it's an interesting, like they were also trying to workshop that to bring it off Broadway. And I didn't end up going with the off Broadway production, but I think it was because they cut a character and they combined characters. And
Yeah,
Steve basically was like, you don't play
save money.
drums. Yeah, they were like, sorry, you don't play drums. I was like, damn it, but I do everything else. And they're like, sorry. Yeah. So like that happened to me, but I still love them. It's okay. So yeah, no, the sister, like Josh Cohen's sister. No. It was like, again, I can't even remember. I think it was the gay girlfriend of a neighbor or something. I don't know. But I was playing her and they like couldn't. I got like 5 different notes from different people being like, this isn't quite landing and we don't know why. Like but everybody agreed. There was something wrong with the lesbian neighbor. They weren't sure if they were afraid of her. It wasn't matching. It wasn't it. So I do remember that. But then I also remember like there was her name Grandma or Samuel Cohen's family tree. There was like the grandma aunt. Oh God, what is her name? I can't remember. But I actually did an imitation of my really mean dance teacher. That was all I did. I just like wobbled and like have you ever met an old person that like they like mouth your words as you're speaking?
Oh yeah.
I did that. Everybody fucking loved that. So it was like, and like you're someone that does like Jen, you're kind of like that person I think that people know can do that. That's so versatile and fun with character work. You're talking about
but I didn't know I could do any of that. Like you need someone to give you a shot at it, right? And then the first time you do it, and then you do it, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do, and it's just like that. I still to this day I have a little notebook, and if I see a character or someone doing something on the subway, I'm like, oh, I'm stealing that, and I like write it in my notebook because at some point I'll look and be like, oh, I need to. She's like a nervous wreck, and oh, remember that girl on the thing that was picking her fingernails? Like, so that's how I do them. I like mostly like I watch people's behavior, and then I just write it down, and I'll use it at some point. Yeah, I just saw actually, I live in Hell's Kitchen and I have a lot of people who live on my street who I know now. Like they've been around for years. I just know them. And this guy, Mark, who is addicted to heroin, yesterday I was coming home and I didn't even never seen the girl before, but she obviously was also a little strung out, was being itched by him. Like she had her shirt up. She was wearing a tank top. She had her shirt up and he was like scratching her and like picking stuff off. And I was like, I came home and I wrote that in a thing because I was like, all right, if I ever play a crackhead, like that is a really interesting thing to do, picking imaginary bugs off another person. Like I know that that's crazy, but I can guarantee you it's going to come into play and you're going to see it and go, she saw them outside her door. Yeah.
Listen, I'll be the first person to say this if that ends up in the Griswold's Broadway Vacation because Jen Cody is playing a crackhead and you see her picking invisible lice.
Thanks, Mark.
Construction. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Addict from down the street. That's so dark. And Kind of funny. Oh my God, that's insane. Well, that's what it's like being an actor, right? It's like you're resourcing things from life and from observing, and
Yeah.
especially character acting. That's so funny. Wait, did you have something that you based Princess and the Frog off of? Like, what, how did you, because you're talking about like that was a big career trajectory change. First of all, how did you even get that audition? And like, how did you approach that? Like, what was that?
Well, this is why like everything relies, like I believe you are meant to do what you're supposed to do. I know that sounds Pollyanna, but I got the audition because they were auditioning in New York instead of LA, and the casting woman had just seen me in Wild Party. And in Wild Party, I played like this tiny little New York broad, but I was a little flapper. I was a little blonde flapper. And they were just calling people in to audition for these roles. And they didn't really know what the roles were, but they knew she was a flapper. So I got called in, and it was like the first audition was in an audition room. You went in and sang and you read sides just like you were auditioning for a musical. You never went into the booth the first time. And I auditioned for like a year and a half. Every couple months, they would call and be like, "We need Jen to come back." And it was such a different world that I was like, "Am I still up for the part?" And they're like, "Yeah, yep, you're still in the mix, still in the mix." And then I would slowly have to go into a booth the next time. Then I'd have to go sing in a booth, and then I'd have to read with someone. So like it went on for a very long time with months in between. And my last audition was some recording studio here in New York, and they were seeing the final four girls for my role, and everyone had a CD but me. I'm not going to give names, but everyone had a CD but me. And so I auditioned, and you had to come dressed up in the part, which I still think was kind of weird. And yeah, we had to dress up. Like they were like, "You just look like the character." Um, and so that night, they called and they said, "Can Jen go record a CD?" And my agent was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, we have, everyone has a CD but her."
A
So I
CD,
went,
like a demo, or like they've released a studio album?
studio albums,
What
studio
the fuck?
albums.
They wanted
And
you to
so,
release a studio album.
yeah, they were all people you would know having albums. And so I took my audition book and I went to the film center on Ninth Avenue, and I hired a guy who played the piano and then engineered the recording. And I sang my audition book. I think back now to the songs that I sent them as my CD. It was like "She Works Hard for the Money," I think was one of
Oh,
them.
Jen, wait, where
Mhm.
is this fucking CD? Is it on Spotify? Where can I
No,
get it?
like
Jen, release it. Release it.
Waiting for Life from Once on This Island, like completely
You
inappropriate.
had
But
waiting for.
well, because in the day it was a
Mhm.
character belty song that sounded Disney. So anyway,
Yeah.
it was a long time ago. Things have changed, but I did that song. I know that song was on there. Um, and we sent it at like 6 o'clock on a Friday night, and they
One
called on
take through.
Monday. What?
One take through these songs. You just
Oh,
were like,
one take, yeah, because they had there was like a cutoff of time, and they called Monday and they said, "You have the job." Like
what?
it was crazy. Yeah,
Why did they make you do that?
I think again to pitch to the money people, we could have these stars, and then there's this other girl who's done nothing. Um, but yeah, so and then I recorded it for like a year. They videotaped me and recorded me in LA, and I'll never forget the first. They flew me to LA to record for the first time. It was going to be a 4-hour session, and I'd never done voiceovers before. I had no idea except for my auditions, and the two directors took me out to dinner the night before, and they are the two directors from Little Mermaid. And
Wow.
so the three of us are out, and I'm a little starstruck. I mean, I grew up with the Little Mermaid, and at the end of the dinner, I said, "So, am I going to get a speech uh, therapist or a dialect coach
Yeah.
to because I'm recording tomorrow?" And they're like, "Well, you've been doing the dialect for a year. Like whatever you've been doing, that's that's going to be her dialect. And I was like, oh, I've been doing Foghorn Leghorn.
What?
In my head. Do you know who Foghorn Leghorn is?
Oh, no.
Foghorn Leghorn is a cartoon chicken who was on, I think it was a big white chicken. He used to go, I say. And he was, in my version, Southern. And so I was doing that in my head, and that ended up.
That's
So if you ever go back and listen to Princess and the Frog, know that that was my inspiration. Foghorn Leghorn.
Oh,
Yeah.
my
I think they thought they were going to fire me the next day after I said that. I think they were both terrified. And then I went in the next day and recorded for 4 hours. So
Okay, now that hey, listen, your perception of a chicken with maybe a southern accent worked,
yeah,
maybe.
I
Just
guess
maybe.
so.
Guess so. Well, did you win an award for that? Am I wrong?
Did no. I
'Cause there's
won. It's called the Annie Award. It's like their the voiceover Oscar, and
Yeah.
I won it for Charlotte. Yeah,
Wow. What
I
was that like? You're
know.
like, this is my first time. And then you're like rolling up and getting the Oscar.
I have to say, like, we went to the award ceremony in LA, and all these fancy people were there. Like it was, I think it was up to like John Leguizamo. It was in my. There was only 5 people nominated. John Leguizamo was one of them. Um, they were all famous people, and so there was no. I never thought I was going to win. No one thought I was going to win. And when they called my name, right before they called my name, one of the people that was nominated, I'm going to try not to say names, turned around and said, "It's just an honor to be nominated," to me, because I think they thought they were going to win. And they called my name, and you can watch me winning it. I think it's on YouTube, but you see me like shocked, and then you see me get up to go, and I look back at Hunter, and like it's just I'm completely shocked, and I get up there and I'm like I can't breathe, and yeah, and I do my speech and everything, but it was thrilling. It was so thrilling.
That's amazing. Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, when we were doing Josh Cohen, actually, one of the other castmates was like, "Oh my God, it's Jen Cody. She has an Annie." Because she had done like voiceover work. So I remember
Yeah.
specifically one of my castmates being like, "Holy shit, that's Jen Cody." And I was like, girl, like, that's what I mean, guys. If you know, you know. Like, Jen Cody's like fucking.
Well, it's funny because when they first said you're nominated for an Annie, I was like, is it because my voice is like this? Like, I really honestly thought it's because my voice sounded like Annie. I thought that's what it
We got
had something to
Annie.
do with that, right?
We
But I
got
still do
Annie.
her. I actually went into the booth last week and did her again. So it's been fun to revisit her a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess we'll be seeing more of that character in
Maybe.
maybe places in the future that we can be excited about. So exciting. Oh my God, that's amazing. Listen, it can feel absolutely nuts being a performer, especially a professional performer. Our minds are a little bit wild. We're super creative. We can make things out of nothing, which is awesome. But sometimes our minds can work against us and we can be really self-critical. We can spin out. We can get anxious. We can have a hard time letting go of things. We can really sabotage our own success. Quite frankly, as brilliant as our brains can be, they can work against us just as much. That's why it's time for us to start looking at our training beyond even just being in the vocal studio or going to the gym. You need to train your mind, do that mental and emotional game so that you can stay in it longer and actually bring into fruition the success that you've been working so hard for. You need to take your brain to the gym. That's why I created the absolutely free Abundant Artist audio series. Let's get your brain, your nervous system, your subconscious mind to be on board with the success that you actually want. Let's rehearse for that. Olympic athletes rehearse the mental game of being on the field or being on the court. Why wouldn't you? If you're following your dreams and you're pursuing your dreams, this is the missing piece because you're not welcoming the success. You're subconsciously pushing it away because we're not rehearsing for the success. So go to the link in my bio, get the absolutely free Abundant Artist audio track. Let's start feeling like the artist that we actually want to be. Let's start rehearsing for that success. Stop being the artist that's just surviving, pursuing your dream, and let's start thriving. Well, I guess we got to start winding down here. It's just so amazing, like picking your brain about shit. I want to ask you a couple more questions before we
Yes.
end here. One, what's the longest audition process or the craziest audition process you've ever had of the many, many Broadway shows? Because how many Broadway shows have you been in? Or just shows in general? Do you even know? Is it too many to know?
No. I've been in 9 Broadway shows. Some people say like people calculate it differently because I don't count encores, I don't count actors funds. So other than those, I've been in 9. Um, Craziest audition story. Uh, well, probably the Wild Party because I auditioned in New York and then didn't hear anything and left to go do a production of Music Man at North Carolina and starring Gary Beach, if anybody knows Gary Beach. And when I got there, casting called and said, "We need you to come in again." And I said, "I can't. I'm in North Carolina." And so they sent me this song, which was a duet that I sang. They sent me a song to learn and asked me to record it and send it back. Like, this is before iPhones or anything. So this was
Yeah,
like
you're like,
truly record a cassette and mail it back to them. And I did it with my music director. I wish I could remember his name because he learned the song with me and sang it with me for my audition. And he sang it in a New York dialect. I sang it in New York dialect, and he sang it in a Southern dialect. So I imagine the tape is really funny to listen to. So he sent it back, and then I didn't hear anything. Went on to my next job, which was Guys and Dolls at the Arena. First day of rehearsal, they called and offered me the job, and the Arena Theater wouldn't let me out.
what?
They said no. It's the first day of rehearsal. They're like, "We don't have to let you out. We're not letting you out." And so my agent at the time wrote a check and bought me out of my contract at Arena so I could do Wild Party. I didn't have the money. I couldn't have done it. And he said, "I have faith in you, and I think you need to do the Wild Party." And he wrote a check to the Arena stage and got me
Holy
out.
shit. How much was that check? Like, how much was it to buy someone out of a contract like that?
I don't even know. I remember just crying that I wasn't going to be able to do it. And then I left the next day and went back to New York. So that's probably the
That's
craziest one.
that's insane. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Well, I'm glad. I mean, listen, the Andrew Lippo Wild Party score is like, I love it. There's a lot of
Although,
ballads, very ballad heavy.
yeah, my Broadway debut was a great story. I know you don't have a lot of time, so I'm not going to
No,
tell it,
that's
but
okay. You know what? They'll listen. If they don't want to listen, they can turn it off. I want to
okay.
know.
It's a
What is it?
really great story. This is for everybody who always thinks like I shouldn't go to that audition. There's when you uncast yourself and you take yourself out of the process, you're doing a disservice. And I think we all do that. We all look at a breakdown and go, "Well, that's not me." I was again 4'10", and a breakdown came out. I was non-union. A breakdown came out for Broadway Guys and Dolls. They were looking for the Hotbox Girls, 5'4" and up. That was it. 5'4" to 5'6". That was it. So I went, and they didn't take pictures and resumes at the time because it was an open call. You got a 8x10 card, and you wrote your name and your height. That was the only thing written on the card. So Christopher Chapman, who was a known asshole choreographer, he was just mean.
Great. There's a lot of those.
Oh, he was awful. We all danced 4 at a time, and I was cut immediately. Too short. But the casting director at the time took my card because he's like, "I'm looking for someone for Cats, and she might be the right person." Took my card. Again, my name and height. That was all that was on the card. So he called Equity, and Equity said, "We've never heard of this girl. We have no idea who she is." So he forgot. Like, oh well, I tried. Oh well. I got cast in a 3-week run of Anyone Can Whistle being done at a tiny theater off Broadway. Nobody saw it. I got cast. I played a 6-year-old girl. I was 21 years old. And they just happened to put out a poster with our names on it. And one was hanging in some kiosk on Broadway. And that casting director was walking home, and he saw it, and he saw my name, and he went, "That's the girl." He called the theater. The theater said, you have a phone call from Vinny Liff. Because again, no cell phones, pay phones. I was like, I don't know who that is. So I took the phone call, and he said, I need you to come to the Winter Garden Theater today at 4:00. And I was like, I don't even know who you are. Like, and everyone's like, it's Vinny Liff. He's a very, very famous casting director. And so after rehearsal, I walked to the Winter Garden Theater. I went in the stage door. They took me on stage. I danced. I sang. And I remember the dance captain, just me. And the dance captain said, do you know why you're here? I'm like, I have no idea whatsoever. And I got the job.
That's fucking magic, dude.
It's magic. That's what I'm talking about. Go to every audition, whether you're right for it or not, because someone might see you because you might be right for something else.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
crazy, right?
Again, it's interesting, and that's kind of what I wanted to wrap up on is like how to stay in the business and like continue on, and like I talk a lot about my own mind fuckery of like I think how I sabotage myself for a really long time because of fear. I started believing certain narratives. Oh, it has to be this way, or like this needs this to happen. When in reality, I was just coming to terms with maybe the way that I'd envisioned my life wasn't all the way in alignment with what I actually wanted. And like, coming to terms with like, I would still love to perform and be in shows, like, and do work that's fulfilling to me. But like, for me, that's not going to be the only thing or the main thing that I do. And I've like started to come to terms with that. But like, I think if I would have received this advice and how you're talking about this earlier in my life of like, you don't know. And like there's like such a beautiful piece of surrender, like this almost like when I was auditioning and receiving roles successfully, this like blissful surrender and like radical trust that I feel like a lot of people who are super successful end up having it seems to be kind of this common thing. Like you were saying, like magic can happen, bitch. Don't you fucking dare taint that spell, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think because I'm behind the table a lot now.
Yeah.
There is a realness when someone walks in the room and is just there.
Yeah.
And it's not, there's no desperation. There's no trying to be something that you think they want you to be. Like, I can't tell you, for me, and I think most people that sit behind that table, when you walk in and it's just someone you're like, God, I'd like to hang out with them. They seem cool. That to me is like 80% of the audition, because at a certain point, everybody's talented.
Right.
Everyone can hit the notes. Everybody can kick their head. Everyone can, read a line and get a laugh. To sustain a career, you kind of just want to be a person people want to hang out with. And I know that sounds basic, but it is the difference between like working a couple times or working a lot. And everyone's always like, oh, you work so much. Most of those times, it's just people I've worked with before. And they're like, hey, you want to come back and do this? And to me, that's that's success to me. It's not about the Broadway shows to me. It's not about the voiceovers. It's really about people who work with me wanting to work with me again. And that's my success, but it's not everybody's success. But it does, I think it does play a part in doing what we do. And when we're old, and like, I do think it's an age thing too, when you get to be a certain age and you're like, this is me. This is who I am. I'm not that anymore. I'm not trying to be this. This is what you got.
Yeah.
And you either got to like that so that other people like it, or, do something else. And I will say also, it's about being grounded and not just theater and not just performing. It's so much interesting to see someone who has a lot of tools in their tool chest, a lot of can talk about, world events, and can talk about literature and can talk about science. Like it's just it makes I think it makes you a more rounded performer, and just more interesting as
Right.
opposed to, when I was young, having so many people that all they could talk about. It's all they knew. It's all they wanted to know. Who had starred in this and what time and who sang the best alphaba and who did like that. I think that gets old really quick.
I
That's, of
agree.
course, just my opinion.
I
Just my
listen.
opinion.
No, I agree. I get on TikTok and I'm like, listen, bitch, you're fucking boring. Like, have that. Like, I'm pretty. What's interesting about my relationship with auditioning and working in theater and doing things is like, I feel like my experience has been it's a little hard to break through new teams. Like, if I'm just meeting people for the first time right now, it's like I've gotten close, but like getting through. But like if I've worked with someone, like you said before, like they hire me back or they reach
Yeah.
out, which is like a cool feeling to be like, oh shit, like, in a way, like whatever ends up happening with Broadway Vacation, it's kind of an honor to have worked on this show for 6 years and been asked back that many times and like been someone that they trust with the creative process. So I agree. And I think even for me, just hearing that was a really important reframe of like, the importance of like what is true success. And I think where I really mind fucked myself like hard, like I kind of mentioned with this fear, I recognize that like I listened too much to like what I thought I had to be to have other things in my life that I realized I needed. So for example, I was like, well, I feel like I want to have more security in my finances. I feel like I want to have more time off or more selection. Like I want to have a little more control over my lifestyle. There were even things that I was like, I don't want to raise kids here, but I want kids. But like, because there were like those dreams along the way, and I hadn't like been open and flexible enough to being like, let's just see what happens. Like, this is where we are now. I don't have control over that. This is what I can do in my power. I like mind fucked myself and went, well, no, it has to be this way. That means I need to do this kind of job because I was fearful of something else happening. So I feel like
Hmm.
my vibes were just like fucking off for like a while. And it wasn't until I started like listening, like I think one of the most wild parts of like my transition into kind of doing both, but like leaning into this other world so hard was like, oh, I remember when auditioning for me was so easy. Like I was saying, it was like book, 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 book. And then there was some moment, I think half of it is me mind fucking myself, but I think also half of it was I was being led in a different direction and I was like ignoring. Like I did not want to accept that. Like it was like like intuitively everything in my soul was like pulling me in a different way. And I had a really hard time accepting that because I had wanted this way for so long and wanted it
Hmm.
so badly that I like chokeholded it with fear and strength. It was almost felt like I've been processing this a lot this summer, like feeling like the grief of like I strangled a dream thinking that it had to be a certain way. And like what I love to talk about people who have had careers that like I at one point, and who knows, like it could who knows where my life is going to
Absolutely.
go. It's not saying like that's over for me and it's not good. No, I have this thing and I still audition. I just auditioned for Hunter. I was in fucking Italy and I sent in a gentleman's guide tape. Like it's it's still like I'm still auditioning all the time. It's possible to do both. But I think it's interesting, like it basically comes back to the magic and the intuition of it. And some people's magic and intuition is going to lead them to doing the next gig and the next gig and the next gig. And they're perfect for that lifestyle where they've adapted and they thrive into that way. And then some people, it's like, it's okay too if you realize because the job's so hard and because the job's so unconventional, like it's also okay to like, you can like carve your own path. And that's what I'm
Absolutely. And
learning.
that's the thing about what we do is
Yeah.
that it's not like another job where you get to a certain age and you retire because you can't do it anymore. Our our careers evolve. And what you did when you were 19 and 25 is not what you're going to do when you're 40 and it's not what you're going to do when you're 60. And for some people they're still performing at 80. So you can go and come back because it's always here. It's always there's always a version of what it is we do going on. And no matter where you are in your career or your age, or if you've chosen to live outside the city, like there's a place to do what you want to do at the age you are. So I think that's what is different about us. It's not like we are, at 55, you're done and you retire. And no, like some people get their starts on TV at that age because there's just
Yeah.
more parts. So I do think that carving your own path and doing it at a time that is right, because I have a friend who, was working, but then went and had a family and thought that that was her life. And now she's back. Her son went to college and she's back doing theater. So it, I think we are in a place where carving a path, your path can go where no one's ever gone before. You don't have to follow any path that's happened before. You could stop for 50 years and then, John Cullen was doing 2 Broadway shows in his 80s at the same time. Like our paths, they're infinite.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes what we do great.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I need to listen to lean in and more on that kind of thing. The one, this is kind of private, so I like say this with as much reservation as possible, even though I'm pretty transparent on here. But I think one of the things, this kind of gives me goosebumps to think about. So we'll see how this ages. But I feel like sometimes too, like the perfect opportunities for you, they will find you. Like that's evidence of your how you describe that. Like it will find you. And I think like, you know, it's almost like universe or whatever was leading me in the direction that I needed to go to make an impact in the way that I'm supposed to make. Like, cause if I hadn't had that many doors shut in my face for that long, like, and had to mind fuck myself, I wouldn't have made the things that I made. I wouldn't have struggled in the way that I did, which forced me to create things that have helped like fucking thousands of people at this point, which is insane. I've had people come up to me on the train being like, you fucking changed my life with singing. It actually makes me like really fucking emotional. It's wild. And
That might be your calling. Like artists
right.
create art. You're creating art. And I think
Yep.
you have to realize how important it is, and that not everyone can do what you do. And so that seems to be when you value it, I think then you'll be happy. I think there's that part of you, at least this is my, from
Yeah,
hanging out with
please.
you, there's that part of you that's like, but I wanted Broadway. But a lot of people can't do what you're doing or
Right.
what you've done and created this mini empire that you have. I think maybe that's like,
Yeah.
that's your calling for right now. And that could
Yeah.
change. But right now, people need you to be doing what you're doing. And that's why
Right.
you're where you're at.
And that's the shuffle. Like that's what I mean. Like feeling that shift. Like it. Like I'm one fucking magical bitch. When it's lined up, it's fucking lined up. It falls in. It happens. I follow. But when it changed course, and I didn't fucking consent to that, my ego did not consent to that. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
That to fight against it was so much harder than to just lean in. And when I finally surrendered, then, like I said, like this kind of mini empire opened up. But there's this feeling, and this is what I'll see with old age. If not, maybe, and I'll say this kind of generally, maybe in order for you to have the thing that you want, like, or your ego wanted, or be your childhood dream, or whatever it is, the exact experience that you're meant to embody. You're talking about studying humans and understanding, behaviors and experiences is this part of being a professional artist. Maybe that opportunity, me, if I'm an example, I have to live certain experiences in order to understand that thing that's for me. Um, and I think when you surrender, it's like kind of like a really humble position to be in. Like that's where the magic and the surrender of it all comes in, because it's like, I like, you might say like, I want this thing to happen. I want this thing to happen. I need this to happen. Da, da, da. Like us having conversations back in 2023 about like needing Broadway Vacation to move to Broadway. And like, I just need this to happen because of XYZ. I'm still putting limitations on my life. Well, I need Broadway to happen so I can have a baby. Well, bitch, universe or God could be on the other hand being like, listen, bitch, I want to give you this, but like, you're actually supposed to have a baby and like do these things so that you know how to do that. Like, you
It's
don't
funny.
know.
I remember a conversation. We were on a lunch break, and you were we were with two other women, and I was listening to you guys have the conversation that you're having right now
Mhm.
about the timeline, and this is how it's going to happen, and this was going to happen. And I remember just listening and smiling and thinking,
Like, no,
no, it's not going to happen like that at all. You have to not plan. You have to let it
no.
go. And it's funny because you were all very young, and I was
Yeah.
listening, thinking, yeah, I know. I know what you want. It's not going to happen like that. It never does. It never
It's not.
does.
How cute. So cute. And it's not
They'll
fucking
figure it out.
figure it out. I love that. Just like Auntie Jen in the corner.
Yeah.
The amount of conversations that we've had, even with you and Hunter, just like you've been such a good friend, and it's also just so incredible to watch you. Like, it's really expansive. It's good to like someone that you just genuinely admire in their skill. And I know I'm like flattering you, and we're at Flatter Town, but like when I mean it, you're like, but like no, but I mean it. Like again, even having this conversation, like selfishly, I'm like, I love talking to Jen because it's like it reminds you of like what's actually important. And I say this all the time as I'm like learning the lesson the hard way by trying to plan and having things, and that's just not how it fucking works. But like, what is the actual job? The actual job is to be creative and to grow and live your life. Like that's literally the job.
The job is just to be present. The world will kind of tell you where you're going and what you're doing. You just got to be present and not plan everything and not like I can tell in an audition when someone's present and when someone's just walked in and they've pre-planned everything, and it's not nearly as exciting to watch.
Mhm.
That's all you can do is show up, be prepared for anything, and know that the thing you've prepared is not going to happen. It's going to go the other way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the control. Like you got to let go of control. Just be who you are. Just be present. And guys, I know that it's like, it's so interesting because everybody's like, how do I just be myself though? How? Like they're, I think earlier, like in your
Yeah.
20s, that's it's like, what does that even fucking mean? And I mean, we all learn through like our brain forming and
Well, no, I think like the first 5, 10 years you're in New York, you're trying to be the person that's done this and has done it successfully. You're like, I'm going to be the next, I'll think like in my time, like the next Adina Menzel or the next Kristen Chenoweth. They're already doing that.
yeah, they already exist.
They already exist. And then once we get past that and we're like, oh, I just have to be myself. And then it's the hardest thing to trust that that's enough, but it's enough.
Yeah, but yeah, and I feel like I'm finally like in that, and it's like again, I'm a witchy bitch, so like I used to have like meditations of like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to do? And it was always just like, just let go, bitch, just
Yeah.
let go. Anyway, if you guys are listening and you're like, I am relating so hard to this, like I want what Jen's talking about, but like how do I learn to accept myself as an artist? How do I learn to just be present? How do I learn to just be here with myself and to have, I mean, sometimes it comes down to self-worth around like you are enough, right? It's the
Yeah.
whole like inner work of it all. And so because of this, I don't know if I've announced this, if it's the time when this is released, you would have already heard the ad for it somewhere in this episode. But if it's not released yet, just know that the new membership, the new container that's coming out is just going to be so epic. And honestly, I only make things that I need. I was like, I made this for myself. I made this one for me, guys.
If you
Like,
know, you know, right?
if you fucking know, you know. So if you're anything like me, you would benefit just from, yeah, the stories that you've heard. You know that you're kind of, you might be choke holding your art. You might be sucking the joy out of your art. You're having a difficult time being present. You're ready to step back into that creative recovery in a sense, or you just want a better relationship with yourself, whether it's just with yourself as a person, or it's like you don't want to hate your voice anymore. Like you don't want to feel like you're second guessing your body. You don't want to feel like you're becoming someone else to meet the gaze of a producer at the top because it's exhausting and you're just at a point where you're like, this isn't fucking working.
then please, at the very least, check out the free, if this is happening, check out the free Abundant Artist audio track that will get you started. But like, just make sure that you're on the email list, because you're not going to want to fucking miss when this is released. It's going to be a really beautiful community, and you're going to want to be the first to know about it. I promise. But anyway, thanks for listening to my shameless plug and reminder of the thing happening. But
Yay!
yay, advertising. But thank you so much, Jen, for coming on. I really appreciate you. I miss you. You're fucking brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you for asking me and for having me and letting me talk for so long.
No, girl, same. I don't know. Sometimes like the episodes with my friends, they like go on for a while. And if they don't like it, they can turn it off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Most of the time they love it and they listen the whole time. So thanks if you're listening. If you're still listening, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. This helps me get this information out to more artists all over the world. Let's work together to spread the joys of music. Until next time, I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, signing off from the Singer's Path podcast. Thanks for listening.